Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again.
Yo, welcome ladies and gentlemen to episode 6 of the Dishhhtribute podcast with me, your host, Damon Geis. Before we jump straight into things, I want to give a late happy Mother's Day shout out to all the moms as well as the women playing the mom role. You are all loved, all appreciated for your efforts making families feel loved day in and day out. We love you. Now, with that being said, we have a packed show today with plenty to discuss, including the fallouts from both Game 7s yesterday, along with predictions for the conference finals and why I believe last night's shot from Kawhi from the top of the CN Center could propel the Raptors to a championship title. In the NFL, I discuss my top 5 corners in the league, remaining free agents and where I'd like to see them end up, and Seattle moving on from Doug Baldwin Kam Chancellor. Lastly, in the WWE, we'll look ahead to Money in the Bank this Sunday and what the hell is going on with this wild card rule. Jumping straight into things though, the man of the hour, Kawhi Leonard. Raptors versus Sixers. I will tell you guys, I was at work and I'm watching the final seconds of this game. And I see that shot roll in. I kid you not, I work at Planet Fitness. As soon as that shot went in, I yelled throughout the gym. And when I tell you every member in there looked up at the front, I put my hand up like I had just committed a foul. I was like, my bad. So, very exciting moment. Man, Kawhi is not sitting there and waiting. He's going ahead and putting himself in the running for best player in the world. He's not waiting to be passed the torch. He's taking it. The thing about Kawhi, man, is you sit there and people say, you know, a couple weeks ago, this guy is Jordan with a 3-ball. I mean, CJ McCollum said it. Kendrick Perkins is saying it. Guys around the league are saying it. And it's more evident than ever that he's that elite. You know, to draw comparisons to Mike, it already puts you in that real world of being one of the top basketball players. I mean, you're doing something right. And just to have it, you know, be the point it is, Kawhi is definitely up there. You know, lockdown defense. And you can actually see, you know, he's grown defensively as well. But the thing that's so impressive is you can see the stuff that he's put work in on offense. The thing that's so interesting in this, the Spurs didn't let him be himself. You know, they didn't let him attack. They didn't, and the Raptors, that's what I love about Nick Nurse. You know, there was no debate about it. It was he was taking the shot, and that's final. And I really love to see that. In addition to that, you know, Ibaka's play off the bench was huge. You know, Philly had been killing Toronto all series off the bench. And just to see them go ahead and put in the effort they did and win that game like that with Ibaka hitting clutch 3 after clutch 3. I think he hit one in the fourth quarter and it was around the 6-minute mark. After that, you know, it wasn't no open 3. The guy was in his face and he threw it up. And that cash, you know. So, shout out to Serge Ibaka, man. Very good play yesterday. And the season is over for Philly. But going forward, I'm very interested to see what goes down for them. You know, Philly, they're a very good team. You hate to see Embiid crying out the tunnel like that. But that guy cares, man. And I just think that Ben Simmons is too talented to, you know, be a liability offensively like he was. I think he has to develop that jump shot. We all know that. But the kid, I mean, he has talent everywhere else. He just needs to find that extra motivation to push him through. The most interesting thing for me, though, is what they'll do with Jimmy Butler. Will Jimmy come back? I personally think Jimmy Butler is the heart and soul. I'm very interested to see what they can do, if they can add on to that, because this team has too much talent with just Embiid and Simmons that can get them over the top. And I'm very excited to see what they do going forward. Moving on, we have the Nuggets versus the Blazers. Hey man, shout out CJ McCollum. Shout out CJ McCollum. Dame was cold. Rodney Hood went down with an injury. And Dame put the team on his back. 2 clutch daggers in the final minute. step back mid-range shots. That guy, he wants it. And you can just see the offensive poise, the ability to say, hey, give me that screen and I'll be good. Split the team, take the big man, split, like I said, split the double team and find his shot. Excuse me. CJ is very, and the thing that got to me was people, will say, oh, he's just the offensive scorer after, just winning Most Improved not too long ago. And you see this guy getting a rundown block similar to LeBron's against Iggy in the finals. I have to say that was very similar, and it's very interesting to me how, KD on this podcast said, you guys aren't competing for a championship, and you look now, and he has the chance. He has the chance. So I'm very excited to see what this backcourt does against Golden State's backcourt. I think I'm more excited for this Portland series more than I've ever been. I know we've seen this matchup before, but I feel like this time is different. And in 1 second I'll get to the reason why. But shout out to the Nuggets year after year, being right there, just short of that 8th playoff spot. And this year with a big breakthrough from Coach Mike Malone, Jamal Murray, and Jokic, that team's going to be dangerous for years to come, man. And especially next year with Golden State potentially breaking up their core, Houston going back to the drawing board, the Lakers still needing help, OKC not really there yet. I'm very excited to see if the Nuggets are able to break through. You still got Michael Porter Jr. on the bench and hasn't played, so they made comparisons to KD for him. I'm very excited to see how that plans out. I must say though, as somebody is a big fan of IT, I do believe they could have gotten over the Blazers if they had put IT in the game, especially in that 4 OT game. IT is a certified hooper. No questions about it. We've seen him be clutch, and just for me, I hope that we're able to see him reunite with Boston next year. I'm not going to speak on it yet, but I think Boston will lose Kyrie, but the guy that they'll bring in, he'll be a very good replacement. Very, very good replacement. I'll speak on that closer to free agency, though. Moving on to the conference finals matchups. First, we have Warriors versus Blazers out west. Now, like I said, I'm very excited, to see how this matchup goes. It is different from before. These guys are better. Of course, Golden State, defending champs, but they've been that. And I'm just so excited for this matchup. Two great offensively skilled backcourts. Seth Curry versus Steph Curry. You have that matchup. Durant down, so Golden State again at a liable point, but Dame being from the Bay Area, you have him going into Golden State, no pressure. First 2 games, Golden State is expected to show out and win. Dame going to his hometown, he has the opportunity to steal at least 1 game, and that's what they'll need to do if they're going to come out this series. No questions about it. They'll have to get one, especially with KD down, man. And then once you go back to Portland, ball's in your court. What are you going to do about it? So very interested to see how the Portland Trailblazers come out to start this series. If they can come out and punch them in the mouth, they will have a shot. But if they come out sluggish and let Curry getting easy threes off screens and let Clay get going, just look at it, man. Dame and CJ have to show out like they always do and just get that extra play out of someone, whether it be Seth competing against his brother and his canner, as he's played huge all postseason. Very excited because you have Aminu who gave you big games against the Nuggets and OKC, and then when KD comes back, all his attention is going to him defensively. So you're gonna need someone to step up, especially with the injury of Rodney Hood. You need someone, and that's what I'm looking forward to. For Golden State, you know what they're gonna bring to the table. The Splash Bros showed that they're still the Splash Bros. We all watched the performance they put on against Houston. Frustrating enough, but we're not here to talk about Houston. Just Golden State being Golden State, man, and Portland has a shot. Next, Bucks versus Raptors. Now, while the backcourt display that we're about to get on for those two teams out west, I am more excited for this series out east. And let me tell you why. We're about to watch potentially the best two players in the world. They're in the argument. Giannis and Kawhi go at it. Who wants that torch for best in the world? Giannis a little younger. He's coming for it. Kawhi, who's been here, but people say, hey, he's more of a defensive player. He doesn't have the great playmaking skills. He's not so much of a scorer. The guy's putting up 40 in game winners. I mean, it doesn't get more score than that. So Kawhi's definitely up there. Giannis is up there, being in the MVP consideration for this year with Harden. So this is gonna tell, and I'm very excited. Both these teams, I think, match up well with the Warriors, who I do predict to come out. Regardless of the great season that Portland has had, it's too much. I mean, it's too much. Golden State, we all know the juggernaut there is, and I believe to beat them, you have to have that great forward play. We've seen it out of LeBron, and Giannis may not have the outside range of LeBron, but he has it. He has knocked down some threes at a consistent basis this postseason. In addition to that, we've seen what Kawhi can bring to the table, and both those players with those units around them do have a shot at giving Golden State a run for their money. But with that being said, I want to give my finals prediction. I'm going Warriors versus Raptors. Warriors versus Raptors, man, and I think that Toronto can get him. And let me tell you why. Kawhi. We know what he's going to bring to the table. We've seen him. And think about it. When's the last time Kawhi matched up against Golden State? The injury. The Zaza. In the playoffs. Zaza coming down on him. Zaza's not there anymore. But if he matches up against Golden State, what that means. From his time in San Antonio to departing to where he is now, that injury changed everything for him. Everything. And to see them again in the playoffs with a shot of being crowned the best player in the world after the best postseason run that he's ever had, the biggest shot of his life, this is it. That would be it for him. And then you look at the matchups that the Raptors have. I like the battle of Nick Nurse versus Steve Kerr, just to see those head coaching interactions. I've really noticed something watching the Raptors play is I don't think I've seen, the camera flash more towards a coach than Steve Kerr. But then second, I see Nick Nurse and they show his reactions. It's kind of funny. The guy has his mouth open or he's going crazy on the sideline. He's a very entertaining coach to watch. And I'm very excited to see how he matches up. I think they made some good suggestions and, were able to play off how Ben Simmons was a liability. I really liked how anytime a shooter for Philly had the ball, they would bring that extra defender over and rotate, made sure someone still had eyes on Ben Simmons if he cut or anything like that, but they were able to use their size and their length to advantage in each matchup. And I love how they did that. And I think that it works very well against Golden State. Now, I think they'll run the same stuff against Draymond and Iggy. Now, it's going to be very interesting because I just want to give a shout out to Iggy, man. He came up huge in that Houston series, especially in Game 7, man. Hitting 5 threes, that's no easy feat. If Iggy is hitting 5 threes, I mean, what shot do you have? That used to be the answer to beat Golden State, is let him and Draymond shoot. But, I mean, Draymond hit the dagger 3, basically, in my opinion, the dagger 3 in Game 5. And then Iggy had that performance. I mean, you're not really going to beat Golden State. So for them, they have to find a way to put the ball in Draymond's hand and get out of that. I also like, Siakam. You see him attack. I really like his length against Draymond. I like that matchup. Kyle Lowry. How will he play against Golden State? And the way I look at it, he doesn't even have to be that scorer, man. He can just be Kyle Lowry. Take charges. Hit a 3 or 2. Let Kawhi, Siakam, and this guy take you there. Marc Gasol. Do you guys remember the old days back, not that old, but Marc Gasol as a Grizzly playing Golden State? They never won a series, but him and Zebo always used to give them trouble. These are the early Splash Brother days when they were coming on, and I'm talking regular season and postseason. You could see Marc Gasol giving them problems inside, defensively and offensively. He's a grown man in the post. He can hit shots outside. He can, deflect shots at the rim. Marc Gasol will be the X factor if the Raptors are able to get over the Bucks and play the Warriors. He'll have to be Marc Gasol. And lastly, Finals Danny Green. We all remember Finals Danny Green from San Antonio. That guy was hitting buckets after buckets, three after three. You just felt like LeBron and them had no chance. So I really like, the experience of Danny Green, playing against Golden State out west so many times and those Spurs matchups. If you remember on ABC, Thursday night games, Friday night, them against Golden State, those games were always entertaining. He's very familiar with the switches on screens with Clay. I'm very excited to see him against Clay. So I don't want to write the Bucks off yet, but that's my finals prediction. I have Raptors versus Warriors, and I think the Raptors can give them a run for their money, man. I'm not going to give a prediction until I see how these conference finals play out. But hey, that's my prediction. I got Raptors versus Warriors in the finals. Moving on to the NBA, we'll move on from the playoffs. And we'll go ahead and talk about the Lakers landing Frank Vogel and Jason Kidd as his assistant. Now, I think they could have done better. When you look at the coaching field, you always look at, well, what about Mark Jackson? There's some of those big names out there that, that they could have got. You look at the debacle that happened with Ty Lue. For me, I think for what they're trying to do, it's a very good move, bringing in Jason Kidd. As well as Frank Vogel as the main guy. I like the move of Jason Kidd more because he's that players coach, I think he'll be able to connect with the players, but at the end of the day, Frank Vogel is the head of the operation. And it would be different if they just gave him a 1-year deal, but they gave him 3. So they expect him to be the man there and also have Jason Kidd be his guy to where, I really like the interaction that he's going to have with the players, but more so Lonzo. I very much like the interactions that I've seen out of Lonzo and LeBron. If you check them on the shop, you can just see Lonzo opening up. We've never really seen that side of Lonzo. So I'm very excited to see how he'll move offensively, continue to be that stud that he was defensively. I'm very excited to see how Lonzo can take it to that next level. With that being said, I look forward to the Lakers' offseason plans. I know that AD may still be in their plans. For me, I just don't want to see LeBron with AD. I don't. I know AD is a top 7 player in my opinion. And very dominant inside. But when you look at how LeBron gets the most out of these big man matchups, he turns them into outside shooters. You look to Chris Bosh and Kevin Love for them to be most effective after the, interaction when LeBron had with Wade in Miami or LeBron and Kyrie in Cleveland. For those big men, they have to turn the threats outside. I don't want to see AD stretch the floor. I know he can. He's that good of a player that where if he puts the work in, he'll get good enough at it. But we know how dominant he is inside. We know how he's put up 50-point games after 50-point games. I don't want to see that. I want to see AD be dominant, and I don't think LA is going to be the place for that. With that being said, what I think the Lakers should do, number 1 priority is Kyrie Irving. No questions asked. We've seen the Kyrie and LeBron show work before. Kyrie in that gold and purple, after loving Kobe so much, you see the Kobe-ness in him, the Mamba. I want to see Kyrie and LeBron link back up in LA, and I would love it. 2 Nike athletes running the city. That's what we need. In addition to that, of course, they would need one more additional piece. I think that could be Jimmy Butler. You've seen the reports on First Take before, not, with Stephen A. and his quote-unquote sources, but more so Jimmy Butler himself going on there. And they asked him before, who would you like to play with? What player would you like to see yourself, team up with? No hesitation. Jimmy said Kyrie Irving. I would love to see that matchup. That big 3, Kyrie, LeBron, and Jimmy Butler. Can you imagine the possibilities, especially with that roster, what they'll be able to get done? You have Kyrie. This is what I have. Zoe running the 1, being that defensive matchup. Of course, she gives you somebody who can handle the ball, especially in fast break situations where you have LeBron running the lane, can give you an alley. You have shooters out. So listen to this. Zoe at the 1, Kyrie at the 2, but still being a primary ball handler. LeBron being, when you want to take things slower, put the ball in the GOAT's hand, one of the GOATs, and let him do his thing. Then you have, Jimmy at the 3, LeBron at the 4, and I'll keep JaVale. I really like JaVale's play. You could see early when Capella was being a grown man, he was giving them problems. And that's the thing you have to do against Golden State is be a big man. And we all know that the goal here is to beat Golden State. So that would be my starting lineup. My bench lineup would keep Rondo, have Josh Hart, Kuzma run the 3 off the bench. No, Ingram run the 3 off the bench. Kuzma run the 4. And I keep Tyson Chandler. I really liked his play. And the good thing about these lineups is when you need to go small, you can. You can take Zoe out the game if you would like. You can put Kuzma and Ingram in the game. You can have length. Jimmy, Kyrie, and LeBron always on the floor. You have one superstar that's always going to be on the floor. Think about it. LA, listen to me. Go get those guys. It gives you great backcourt play. Guys who can get the job done all over. You have different guys who can close. 3 different guys that you're not afraid of the moment. It gives you length defensively everywhere. So I'm very interested to see how that goes. If I'm the Lakers, those are my front priorities. Moving on to the NFL. We'll start off with Xavier Howard and his contract extension, becoming the highest paid corner in the NFL. Do I believe he deserved it? Absolutely. He went out and proved it last year. Miami was not expecting him to put on the show. Nobody really was. And he went out there and earned that money. So salute to Xavier Howard. As far as what this means, I'm going to go ahead and break down my top 5 corners heading into the 2019 NFL season. Starting at number 5, I have Xavier Howard. Like I said, he went out and earned that contract. Salute to him. I hope that he keeps it up. I hope that he shows that the money was well deserved. And this is the time, Brady's still coming off a championship win. Sam Darnold, the Jets investing in him. Right now, things are a little bit shaky with Miami and their quarterback situation, Ryan Fitzpatrick and everything like that. Josh Rosen they just traded for. So, interested to see how it goes, but if he can step up and play again like he does, they know they'll be secure in that area defensively. Him and Mika Fitzpatrick holding on that back end. So we know that he's their guy defensively going forward. Number 4, we'll stay in the AFC East with Stephon Gilmore. Interception in the Super Bowl, one of the best corners from Pro Football Focus last year. This guy is a true number 1 corner in that Belichick system. Travel with your number 1 guy. I really like Gilmore. Got to put him in my top 5. Number 3, Marshawn Lattimore. Most definitely for me, especially after his performance in the playoffs. Marshawn is a lockdown corner in my eyes. As someone who's watched the Saints throughout life, they haven't really had that lockdown corner. I mean, you've had seasons where it's been Darren Sharper as safety, giving you pick 6 during the Super Bowl season, or Jabari Greer, or Tracy Porter, getting picks in the playoffs and big stuff like that, or even the debacle that was Brandon Browner and even last year P.J. Williams, but Marshawn held down his end of the bargain, and you know what you're going to get out of him. So the Saints are going to finally make that Super Bowl run. He just has to keep being himself. Basically, I see him as, the Saints Sherm. Back in those LAB days, he shuts down his side of the field, and they can try him if he wants, but it doesn't work out well. Like my boy over at Pack Life Pod, Carter says, that man Marshawn Lattimore is clamps, man. No question about it. Number 2, until proven otherwise, man, Patrick Peterson. He's still up there for best corner. I know the Cardinals aren't a very good team. I really like what they did in the draft, though. Getting the corner out of Washington. Adding on to that with Buda Baker. I'm very excited to see if they can rally around Patrick Peterson and become something special as far as a defensive unit like we saw with Tyrann and Patrick Peterson, and Tramon Williams was there and he had a couple good plays. You just look to see that, and Patrick Peterson is the leader of it all. That defensive goals is as far as he takes them, and he hasn't dropped off. His play is consistently high. I mean, Julio gives him problems, but who doesn't Julio give problems? So Patrick Peterson just keep doing his thing. LSU 7 era, one of the legends, Patrick Peterson, number 2 corner in the league, and number 1, got to give it to Jalen Ramsey. No questions about it. I know the Jacksonville Jaguars have also not been that great of a team, and Telvin Smith is going to be sitting out this year. But Jalen Ramsey, I look forward to seeing him talking his smack this year up in receiver's face like he was. When he is playing on his game and talking his smack, he's the NFL's version of Joel Embiid. If they don't win, you're gonna get rained down on, and it's very frustrating. But Jalen Ramsey has to continue to play his game, talk his trash, and his teammates play around that. You also have Nick Foles bringing in, so I just think if that team is able to do their thing defensively, you'll have Leonard back toting that thing, Nick Foles giving you playoff play action. So Jalen Ramsey, how far can you take the defense with Telvin Smith out? This is where you prove it. Moving on, we'll talk about our top 5 remaining free agents and where I like to see them end up. Now, with free agents, you still have some big names out there. This typically happens past the draft where teams like to see how they stack up and then bring those guys in, whether they'll do 1-year deals or get them in on a little secure deal for a little money. With that being said, number 5, Shane Ray. Shane Ray, young guy, first-round talent, never really panned out with the Broncos, so they did decide to let him walk. When I look at Shane Ray, somebody that I would see him looking pretty well with is the Kansas City Chiefs. So he's staying in the division in the AFC West. Obviously, he's not a number 1 guy, but I do like how young he is. You can see the drive, the motor. If you put him in that right situation, and with the Chiefs situation, they have Frank Clark on the outside that they just traded for and were able to get on a long contract deal. Chris Jones inside. As far as what you're going to do with that, if you bring Shane Ray in, it's low risk but high reward. If he's able to give you consistent play, we've seen first-round picks pan out elsewhere. So if he's able to go elsewhere and put on a show, maybe not at first and getting full snap counts, but if he continues to improve his play, he could be a very good player for that team, especially in that motivational factor, playing him against the Broncos in division, and he's familiar with the Raiders and Chargers. That could be something to keep your eye out on. Number 4, Michael Crabtree. Crabtree is still a very good receiver. When you look to Baltimore, their thing wasn't to pass the ball. So last year, I think he'll still be remotely fresh off that season. He is getting up there in age, but I still think one of the most crisp route runners in the league. Very good veteran receiver. Has some top-notch NFL seasons. I would like to see him go to the Buccaneers. Now, with that being said, they have Mike Evans, who in that Bruce Arians offense, I could see them using as their Larry Fitzgerald. I could see Bruce Arians putting him in the slot consistently. That's something to keep an eye on. I also think that he'll get full advantage of Chris Godwin, but then you still have one outside slot open. I think Michael Crabtree could be that security blanket for Jameis outside of Mike Evans. You still have Ajayi Howard and Cameron Brate. So Crabtree could give you that guy on the outside that isn't going to get every ball, but when you go to him, he's gonna come through for you. I like that move. I think that he's built to play in the NFC South. He's built to play in the NFC South with those big name matchups against Julio and Mike Evans on his own team, Mike Thomas. So I'm looking forward to seeing if the Buccaneers can pounce on that situation. Number 3. And I don't know. I know this guy's going through an injury, but I don't know how he's still out there. Ajayi, man. We've seen guys bounce back from big injuries. I know this was the ACL and everything like that, but this guy, if you remember when he first pounced on the scene in Miami, he was running for 200 yards back to back. If he's even able to give Bruce Arians somewhat of that production, Buccaneers can make some noise in the NFC South, man. They really could. I know they have Ronald Jones that they're invested in and your boy Barber, but I don't really like that move. If you're going to get Ronald Jones, I think that you need somebody else to play off him. I like the move of Ajayi. It gives you that power back, that sort of switch up from the finesse, can be that closer for you. I really like that move. I think the Buccaneers should look into that. And with that being said, so I have 2 Buccaneers, 1 Chiefs moves. Number 2, I think we all want to see it. He's been called a dirty player. I want to see Ndamukong Suh go to the Raiders. I just do. I think that's the perfect guy to have in the black hole. Just that nastiness. You know what the fans stand for. You know, Oakland, they're talking about moving to Vegas. Give them something to remember. Give them that nasty player that's going to give them effort defensively. Can you imagine Ndamukong Suh and Vontaze Burfict? I mean, I know those guys have reps of being dirty players, especially Burfict, but you get those two guys rolling, you get fear in the offense. That's what you need. That's what you need, that image, that fear to put into offenses. Not in the way of bad play, but those guys are very good players, and we've seen them have success in the past, be all pro, Pro Bowl caliber players. And this is the moment to match them up, have that defensive presence. I really like that move. I think that the Raiders also should look into that. And number one, I know that he's a very injury-riddled player, but when Eric Berry is healthy, he is a stud. We've seen it. I know that's a very big if, but he is a stud. A team that I think should take a chance on him is a team that just lost Tyrann Mathieu to that same very Chiefs team that cut Eric Berry for this reasoning. I think the Texans should take a run on Eric Berry. He could be that leader defensively for you on the back end with J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney still there, Whitney Merciless, those guys of the world. Just be that leader in the secondary. If you believe in your young defensive back core, go ahead and let Berry take a snap count. But when the time comes, he'll play big for you in matchups against the Patriots and the Chiefs, against those tight end matchups like Travis Kelce or Eric Ebron against the Colts. So very well within the division against the Colts, Delaney Walker coming back this year. So I think Eric Berry will be a very good sign for the Texans. Like I said, give them that defensive pressing on the back end if he's able to stay healthy. That could be a very good move for them. Lastly, in the NFL, sadly, my boy Doug Baldwin went ahead and announced retirement officially. And Kam Chancellor, we know he's been going through it with the neck injuries. It's a new era in Seattle, man. Officially, I think Sherm's departure really started something. Well, Marshawn's departure really started it. The Super Bowl loss really started it, to be honest. But Marshawn leaving after the season, he was hurt, came back, lost to Carolina. He retired. That really started something. Then Sherm wasn't too happy. He got hurt, walked, went to San Fran. Looked at last year, Earl Thomas flipping the bird. Now we have the Cam injury in there as well, and Doug Baldwin failing the physical, and they go ahead and parting ways. So it's a new direction in Seattle. They paid Russell Wilson, so he's going to be the guy. I hope that we're able to pay Bobby Wagner and get him locked up. Had to let Frank Clark walk. So, Seattle is doing things their way, and they understand that change is necessary. But I really like Pete Carroll's approach, bringing guys in that are going to, abide by what he says. I mean, it's a team. You have to go what the coach says. Is that's your system. And I like the signing of Ziggy Ansah to fill in that spot for Frank Clark. You still have Jerron Reed defensively holding down things for you in the middle. They believe in Deion Jordan. The Griffin brothers will play a big part in what they're doing this year. I like that safety from Utah. And then you look at Doug Baldwin's replacement. They, of course, selected DK Metcalf with the bottom pick of the second round in this year's draft. They also have David Moore, who made some big catches for them throughout the year. So excited to see how Russell Wilson can rally around this team. Also, being the number one rushing team to close the season. Had Chris Carson finish top 5 in rushing and missed a couple games. You still have Rashad Penny that they picked in the first round last year. Tyler Lockett, who had 9 touchdowns off play action. Hey, anything is possible with Russell Wilson, man. Just being a fan of Seattle, I've seen that guy work with anything and put us in situations where I thought we had no shot. And at the end of the game, he's doing the post-game interview, and I have no idea how he just came out with a W. So, if we believe in Russ, I have no problem with that. I believe Russ can put us in situations. As far as we look in the division, of course, the Rams coming off the Super Bowl L, they'll be hungry. I like how we competed with the Rams last year. 1-possession game losses. Russ will put us where we need to be. No questions about it. I also like the 49ers. I like how we match up with them. I like that competitiveness we have with Sherm over there, and they want to get one They got us for one last year when we were trying to secure a playoff spot. They were able to get us. But I'm excited. I really like how we play off in that division. I'm excited to see the short quarterback battle between Russell and Kyler Murray for years going forward. Always have good matchups with the Cardinals. So I love how things look in the division. Second is good enough to get in the playoffs. We saw that last year with the Niners improving and the Cardinals. We'll have to see if that's going to be good enough this year. And the whole NFC, you look to the Packers and the Falcons going to be able to bounce back. Bruce Arians for the Bucks, Eagles and the Cowboys. Never know what's going to happen with the Redskins. Dwayne Haskins could burst on the scene and be that rookie of the year. So very excited to see what happens. Very excited to see what happens out in the NFC. Lastly, we have the WWE Money in the Bank this Sunday. I'm looking at how Money in the Bank is, scheduling up. And I have to say, man, WWE has been a little bit hard for me to watch since the Superstar shakeup. This has been very rough. I've had no idea sometimes what the hell they are doing. And with the move of Fox coming in the next couple months, and they want to have, if you're going to be going on to a huge market like that, you need to have some product. Reason why they put Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and they're having Vince show his face more often, and they're trying to get legends to come out. So I'm very excited to see what they can do. As far as what the hell this wild card rule is, I have no idea. I heard that this is their last hoorah before sinking ratings put them into position to end the Superstar brand shakeup whole deal. I'm very excited to see how this wild card thing plays out. I don't like what I saw last week, but they're saying Roman Reigns will be on Miz TV tonight, and they'll have Lacey Evans Charlotte come over for SmackDown and do the contract signing, which is very confusing to me. I spoke on it the day after WrestleMania. How would they be able to, do this thing with Becky Lynch being on both brands? So I guess she'll drop one title and be on another brand. I'm not really too sure how this is going to work out. So it's very confusing right now. But there are some good points. I mean, I think the Seth Rollins and AJ Styles match will steal the show. I'm interested to see if they let Styles take it off him this quick, be able to flip titles, have them have a good rivalry. But typically, when a big name is competing for the title, you typically see them go off at SummerSlam. So interested to see if they put the title on AJ Styles this early, if they'll have the Bullet Club play any role in this wild card thing. Also, will AJ Styles turn heel? Will Seth Rollins turn heel? I'm down for either. I think that it would be a very good move. You have Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens being full heel now. I like how it is. I like this nasty Kevin Owens. I do think that if you're going to pull the trigger on Kevin Owens and have him be his legit heel self, this is the time. Let him be that guy on SmackDown, and let's move forward with it. I like the idea of it. Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans for the Raw Women's Championship, and Becky Lynch versus Charlotte for the SmackDown. Of course, they want to make Charlotte one of the top women's wrestlers of all time. So I'm interested to see if they'll do that. Take the title from SmackDown off Becky. Will it be too soon? I mean, it's 2 titles. I'm fine with her staying on Raw, keeping Charlotte on SmackDown, and having Bayley on SmackDown. And, it keeps things fresh. So I would like to see 1 title on both. In that, because Becky, let's call it what it is. She's not as over as she was. I mean, she's still over and getting big reactions, but it's not as huge as it was, and you can see that. Men's Money in the Bank ladder match: Braun Strowman, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, Finn Balor, Mustafa Ali. Well, they just call him Ali now. My bad. Andrade and Randy Orton. With the names in this matchup, and it's always going to be inside the Money in the Bank ladder match. But the names in this matchup, I mean, it could go either way. We know how they want to push Strowman. In the past, we've seen how they want to push Strowman. Drew McIntyre has been booked pretty well. Randy Orton, the legend, Finn Balor, IC champ. I really love Andrade. I want to see if they pull the trigger on him, make him that next big name on SmackDown, but you already have Kevin Owens being that heel guy for you, so I'm not really too sure. And then it's kind of confusing. Was he on Raw? Was he on SmackDown? I guess they'll keep him on SmackDown with this relationship with Charlotte in real life, so we'll see how that works out. But my winner for this match, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I got Baron Corbin. I wish they would take him out of his street attire, but I guess that's the part they have him playing if he's going to catch heat. I really don't like it, but that's the point of his character. So, I mean, with the Kurt Angle thing going over him at Mania, if you really want to get heat on Baron Corbin and have him win the contract, maybe cash in that night. You start Monday Night Raw off with Baron Corbin as champ, and fans are interested to see where that goes from there. The real fans. That's the thing with WWE. The real fans are always going to watch. As long as they put the necessary product out, it's all going to be good. They just need to do something that they're confident in and not switch things up on us and move forward with that. With the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Natalya, Dana Brooke, Bayley, Mandy Rose, Ember Moon, and Carmella. Carmella, 2-time Miss Money in the Bank. For my pick for this match, I'm probably going to go with Alexa Bliss. She's always the safe pick after what we've seen in Elimination Chambers and taking titles off Sasha and Bayley and competing against Charlotte or Survivor Series before. Alexa Bliss is the safe pick. Coming back just after Mania. Very excited to see if they put her on that status of, the Becky Lynches of the world and the Charlottes. If they book her that strong. If I don't go with Alexa Bliss, though, I would like to see them put it on Ember Moon. I mean, she's on SmackDown now. You can put her in that situation where it's Charlotte versus Ember Moon. I very much like the process of that. They need that other big face player on SmackDown as far as the SmackDown women's division goes. You had Asuka, but she's teaming up with Kyrie Shane, and Paige is leading them in the tag team division against Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, so I'm excited to see if they push Ember Moon to that next level as far as SmackDown goes. You also have Roman Reigns versus Elias. Little grudge match after Roman Reigns, appeared on the Superstar Shakeup. They called Elias the biggest acquisition, kind of really trolling with us, and then have Roman Reigns come out, punch Vince in the face. So just going to be excited to see this match. I could see them putting Elias over, having to be that nickname, big name. It would be sort of a shocker. The Miz versus Shane steel cage match. If they're gonna push Miz on Raw, I don't see why you would have him lose to Shane. I do think this would be the end of their rivalry. Put Miz on that next level. Put him on that spotlight that he deserves, that he's consistently deserved. They're also pushing the Miz and Mrs. show on USA Network. I think the USA Network is also telling WWE that they would like to have Miz be one of the marquee players for Raw. So, interested to see how that goes. Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. I really like this, storyline of bringing Rey Mysterio's son in, like the old Eddie Guerrero days. You really see that in Samoa Joe talking smack with them, following them backstage. It would be funny to see him put him in a chokehold, stuff like that. Really get that, emotional figure into it after beating Rey Mysterio so quick at WrestleMania. Going to be interesting to see how that match goes. And then, like I said, touched on Asuka and Kyrie Shane. They'll take on the Iconics for the Women's Tag Team Championship. I'm excited to see. I don't think that they'll take the title off Billie Kay and Peyton Royce this early. I think it'll be sort of a thing that the rest of the night we're going to get with it what we want. But for this matchup, I think that they'll have the Iconics stick with the Tag Team Championship. But they'll screw them over in some way to where Asuka and Kyrie Shane are able to win the title some point further down the line. With that being said, that's going to end the episode for us today. So in closing for this week's episode, in addition to the highlight pages on social media, we will also be posting snippets from the podcast for listeners to debate via Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to spark debates with me and follow at Dishhhtribute. Also follow PACT Brand, at PACT Brand, and check out a new episode of PACT Life Pod with the host Bruiser, along with the homies Carter and Lil B. You can also follow them at PACT Life Pod and my personal social at Demond Geis. I am your host, Demond Geis. Till next time.